Right, okay, so welcome everyone to what is the first Mindset Matters podcast. We're doing this on Zoom platform. It's the very first one, introducing to you Hildy. I know Hildy through football as a sort of dual career for myself, is I play semi-professional football. Hildy is the assistant manager at the club that I currently play for. Known each other for, how long would you say for now?
Well, what we started, we was at Coles when we first, weren't you? So we've then moved on to Ashton together. So we're looking at 12 months of working together. So
yeah,
but I was aware of you before then, though. For various reasons.
A few times,
so, yeah.
But we I've not actually played against you, but I'm sure a lot of other people who will be watching this will sort of have a few things to say about your career. I know you like to see yourself as a bit of a player, but we'll leave that for another conversation.
That's it. Yeah, leave that away.
So yeah, a little introduction to Mindset Matters. This platform has been set up to sort of create a sort of base and a mindset for like-minded people to sort of come and discuss, see different sort of tips and tricks and things that might help with them in their life, personally, professionally. The platform's just free content with quotes and advice on different sort of things at the moment. So yeah, just the whole intention for this call and this sort of meeting is around an insight into you really, and a few of the different stuff that you've done in your life and your career, and what's been working for you.
Yeah, and thanks for inviting me on, Mike. It's mindset's it's a passion of mine. I think certainly involved in my career, whether that be in football or in sport or now in coaching or being a dad or being an employer or day-to-day life. I suppose working with your friends, and I suppose mental health is high on the agenda. Certainly men's mental health is high on the agenda on many things. And obviously I've engaged with your content over the last few weeks, certainly since we've been in lockdown, and it just kind of struck a chord with me. We've been doing it's something that I passionately believe in, and some of the messages that you're saying. So I'm really happy to share my experiences and help with obviously getting the sending out there. So yeah, looking forward to it.
No, I think like I say, around the lockdown scenario and the whole situation we're in at the moment, I think obviously mental health's a sort of massive thing, and I think it's going to get even bigger as we sort of look to come out of this. And the personal development and sort of self-development in a way is sort of, I know we spoke before about it being so very individual, and how what works for myself might not work for you, but how has been relating to that content helped you engage in some of the aspects of your life?
It is big, mate. I think if I take it right back to, as a young lad, as a young footballer, I started my, I suppose, trade of playing non-league. I was at Morecambe as a 17, 18-year-old, and had a coach at the time. Back then I would have referred to him as a bit of a bully in terms of how he approached it, and he'd get at you. And I think I'd go into some games. I remember playing. You'd play in the reserves on a Friday night, and you travel with the first team on the Saturday if you were selected. And I could have the best first half, and then I'd look up into the stands and I'd see first team manager there, and you go to pieces. And I think from that point on, then you kind of through football, and I was working as a coach. I was working as a teacher in my professional life. Mindset didn't really cross-reference into that. My focus was to be a footballer and as play as high as I can. And you learn a lot through sport. Sport's really powerful. Physical activity is really powerful. And then you get those knockbacks, and it's about coming back from that. And you come across many people. I think the first advice I give to anybody is to always be looking, always be listening. I've just referenced the stuff that you're doing. I've been involved in business now for coming up to 15 years, as a business owner and employer. So you never stop learning, you never stop changing your mindset. And I think through sport you get to meet. I remember meeting Matt Maddox, who I'd always referred to still as the best captain I ever played with, and you learn from him in that he was never beaten. and you look at some of the stuff I've just been started watching, The Last Dance, and looking at Michael Jordan, and you just can emphasize with some of those things like it's about being the best and driving yourself forward and doing that in the right manner. So that's where it started really, and I think it started as I came out of my football career started to come to an end. You pick up a number of injuries. I've been really unlucky with that, and you then move into business and you start to learn about real important things and how to focus your mindset and influence others. So
it's definitely really relatable. Like you say, I've got a similar sort of background in the sort of professional aspect of the football, and when you sort of come out of that and you drop into part-time, there was a time in my life where football was the sort of be-all and end-all of everything, and that's all I wanted to do. If you would have asked me to go and sort of work or coach or go and do anything but football, it was a case of, no, that's not for me. And I think it was at that point then where I got introduced to the sort of mindset of it all. And for me, the sort of game changer shifted sort of when, I've always been, I would like to consider myself as a bit of a winner. Always wanted to sort of be at the top of my field individually, personally and professionally. But I think the game changer for me was stopping from competing against other people to wanting to collaborate with other people. And that's where this thing called started for me was, how can I sort of help other people be at the top of their field as opposed to just sort of focusing on myself, win at all costs. There's the old cliche, like second is your first loser, isn't it? And in some aspects of it, yeah, but in team games and things like that, I sort of want to portray that message around you don't have to stand on other people to get yourself to the top. I think there's room at the top for everyone, or certainly a lot of people, and it's about doing it and sort of dealing with yourself with integrity and doing it in the right way. So how would you say you then applied that mindset to going away from an individual side of things, from being a footballer, focusing on yourself, your own performance, to then going into and leading a business, in terms of how did you apply that then?
Yeah, I think when you start to work with people and you come across a range of different people, which I interact with every single day, you start to see how people react. I think if you take it from a dressing room perspective, I always think back to likes of some of the stories I've heard about Alex Ferguson and the way he'd never shout at Ronaldo. He'd never actually be really critical to him, but he'd be critical to Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
And Ronaldo would know that he needed to step his game up. And I think that's where I really started to learn. Some of the models and simple models that I use, and this is something that I was shown within my current employment, a number of years ago, is what we call above the line thinking.
Yeah.
Which is about having. I know the best way to understand above the line thinking is you've got an all and you're rowing in the right direction. You're all moving forward, and it's about ownership, acceptability, and responsibility. So all being the acronym. And then below the line is blame, excuses, and denial. And I think that's a real strong message. I think to say whether that's you can refer it to. I've in lockdown I've promised myself I'll get the decking done, and to make loads of excuses not to do it.
Yeah.
But as soon as and then it'll come on to possibly something we'll discuss as we go through. But once you set that plan, and it's just something as simple as getting the decking done. From a mindset perspective, the best feeling is like the job's done, and you feel great about yourself that you've planned, you've worked hard, you've got something done. But it's like you said, there's loads of it. I could have blamed the weather, I could have blamed various other things, and I suppose what I'm getting at, what that model does, it just really gets you to think about what your self-talk is and what your self-beliefs are. So before you open your mouth, think about what it is you're saying. Are you making an excuse? And I know we've said this in the dressing room a number of times. Is it an excuse? Well, my football boots aren't right, or it's raining today, or the pitch is not. And it's that. Or sometimes that self-belief.
Even something that's happened before you turn up to the football is if you're letting that affect you. I know a lot.
Correct.
Some of the lads that sort of we play with or work with are working on a Saturday morning before a game, and if they've gone and had obviously a sort of altercation in the morning, whether it be with the missus, work partner, whatever it is are they going to then let that affect their game, affect what it is? But ultimately, I think it goes back to their own mindset and how they're dealing with it, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it does, mate. And I think, like, you've heard me in the dressing room a number of times. He's to re-embed some simple principles. He's like, I always laugh to myself when I pick the phone up and usually you ask somebody, don't you? You'll say, how are you doing? And they'll reply with saying, yeah, I'm not bad. And I'm like, well, what's not bad? Are you not bad? Are you not good?
Yeah.
And then straight away, it's like, well, why don't you just say, yeah, I'm great?
Yeah.
Or, I have a go at the missus sometimes for it, but it's like when you get up in the morning, so it's a miserable day. Well, it's not. It's just raining.
Yeah.
So and as daft as it sounds, it's that personal beliefs, that self-talk of, today I will have a great day. You can go really deep with it.
Yeah, I've just started reading a book at the moment called The 5 a.m. Club. And so far, I'm only like 30 pages into it. I mean, I've already read a lot around like the miracle morning and sort of setting yourself up for the day. And there's that whole concept around making your bed first thing in the morning. And I know I've recently done a post on this around, is that true? If you make your bed in the morning, are you sort of going to then be successful? No, it's not. But the concept behind it is waking up and achieving something first thing. Can you get up and sort of attack your day? And one of the sort of messages that with the 5 a.m. Club that's sort of consistent throughout is own your morning and own your morning and elevate your life and your success. So if you own your morning, then you can elevate that, and it's sort of only going to progress from there. And another concept around the compound effect and making those small little habitual changes, which I'm massive about, and we'll get onto later about routine and what works for you and what works for me and other people. But those little small habitual routines that can amount to sort of larger success. So getting up and having a routine that works for you in the morning, as opposed to you getting up and having to do something that you don't want to. Have that psychologically, subconsciously just affect your day massively.
It does, and there's so many examples. Like you said, you mentioned rituals. What are my rituals? I can't quite crack 5 a.m. yet, but I'm working on it. But I'll tend to rise around 6 a.m. It'll be confined of breakfast, relaxation, exercise. But they reckon it takes 20 weeks to create a habit. And I think there's often sometimes, again, around your mindset. If you had to get up at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning because you was going on holiday for a week, you'll be up, you'll be ready, your bags will be packed, and out the door you go.
That's the whole concept around the miracle morning as well. And the miracle morning, that's more the concept around getting up 1 hour earlier than what you need to do 1 hour of something that you enjoy, so that you're actually waking up, whether that's, I don't know if it's sport, exercise that sort of motivates you. I mean, I like to get up and work out first thing in the morning. I think it sets me up for the day. But other people might do, I don't know, listen to some music or go and play some drums, play an instrument, whatever it is that sort of motivates them. Everybody's intrinsically motivated by different things.
Yeah.
But that miracle morning is around setting that 1 hour a day, that first hour that you wake up, for something that you enjoy, so that when your alarm bell goes, you're not thinking, right, I've got to get up now. You want to get up to go and do that thing. And then what follows from there will sort of look after itself in terms of then you to go and do the stuff that you've got to do. But that first hour is sort of is for you, really. That's what the miracle morning's around. And obviously there's now this 5 a.m. club. I think it's going to sort of get me up at 5 a.m. as opposed to just a 1 hour before I need to.
Yeah, and I think that, the message, I suppose, this is going out to other people, is to, he's getting into habits. And I think you can often look at it from a work-life balance that, I'm involved in business. I'm a busy guy. I like to be busy. It's my choice. I'm a school governor. I'm assistant manager at Ashton. I run my lads' football team. I've got my own businesses. I'm also employed by the franchisor as a consultant for the wider group of franchises. So I have a lot going on. I'm busy. But I like to be busy. And I think because when people say I've not got time, that doesn't sit with me, because it's about trying to get your mindset in a way that, you're looking at the 5 a.m. call, you're looking at preparing well, you're looking at those habits, is that when you go to work, if you're not, let's say, the cliche comment of prepare to fail, failure to prepare to fail, is me being organised. So if I take some time out on a Sunday, this is what my week tends to look like, is on a Sunday evening, I will sit down, kids will be in bed, Sunday dinner, whatever it's been, and it'll be a moment to just relax. And I'll flip the laptop open, and I go about setting out my week, and I call it the big hairy tasks.
Yeah.
So I set myself 3 simple things that I am going to achieve in that week. 3 simple things. That could be personal. It could be, like you said, doing the decking, getting the garden done. Something, I'm going to get it done this week, and I'm going to commit to it. And then I break that down further into 3 key tasks every single day that are going to help me achieve at that goal. And then I just try to restrict the noise. You know, the news at the minute is noise, and it's noise that you don't want to listen to. I don't watch the news. I've had to watch the 5 p.m. updates. I'm obsessed with 5 a.m. now. The 5 p.m. updates because it impacts on my professional job as an employer. But I don't tend to surround myself with that negativity of bad news. You know, trying to make myself, and I suppose what I'm trying to get at is, yeah, that's me on a Sunday working for an employer. All right, I'm working for myself as well, but working for an employer that I can hit Monday knowing that, you know, my working week's Monday to Friday, knowing that I'm organised, knowing that I've got everything in place, not getting up and having to rush, not getting to work and then spending the first 2 hours going, well, what am I going to do today?
Yeah.
Which leads to procrastination. It leads to noises. You know, we're surrounded by noise, WhatsApps, the Instagrams, all this is coming at you. But it's being able to just be focused and planned about what you're going to do. And then if you take all that planning away, how does that make me feel? Well, it makes me feel my anxiety levels drop because I can remain focused. If I do procrastinate, if I do switch off, or if I lose focus, or something comes in that's urgent, it enables me to quite easily press the reset button to go, okay, take a deep breath, have a think, I'm now back on track.
Yeah.
So it's about releasing those anxieties and being able to remain focused. And I think, you know, there's some of the key things. And I try and plan my day where, you know, I'm quite thorough. You know, I have 2 hours in every single day where it's pure focus time.
Yeah.
You know, I switch.
A lot of the stuff you just touched on there is they're all like not coping mechanisms, but the ways in which you deal with and sort of structure your day and your week. And I think like mental health and around sort of your mindset, I think a lot of people struggle with coming to terms with the fact that it's on them in terms of what can they do to help themselves. Don't get me wrong, like I say, that the sort of mental health side of things, it's sometimes it needs to go beyond the mindset, but I think a lot of the stuff, the prevention tools and stuff that you can put in place to stop you getting to that point. And I think that's all of what you just discussed there in terms of setting yourselves up, reducing your anxiety levels, reducing your sort of stress levels, and you're never going to get to that point of crisis really, because you're aware, for one, you're self-aware of what it is that works for you and what's sort of helping you, but you sort of putting those strategies in place to sort of help you cope with those as well. So that leads me on to my next question around then your business. I believe you've got 6 franchises up and down the country. So you're leading and managing them, as well as obviously juggling your day-to-day life. You're a dad to 3, is that correct?
Yeah, 3 kids, yeah.
3, 6 franchises, assistant manager. You probably still like to think you can play football a little bit, but we'll talk about that another time. How do you sort of juggle them all? I know you've mentioned briefly, but how and when sort of your business start to sort of flourish and commitment started to come through? How did you manage that in terms of structuring all that?
Yeah. To get a bit deep with you is, and again, this is to any people that tune in and listen, is like, and this is why I've kind of got on to Mike and Mindset Matters, is some of the messages are really good. They help you, remind you, and just get you to think. So I recommend that to everybody. But is having a purpose and having a vision. And I'm friends with Duncan Goodhue. Some of you all know Duncan Goodhue, Olympic gold medalist in the 80s. Runs the swimming program. He's the chairman of one of the companies I work at. He tells a fantastic story about him being dyslexic at school. And he used to get bullied for that. And when he was younger, he fell out of a tree and banged his head, and he lost all his hair. So, and they used to call him Duncan the Dunce, because he was dyslexic, and now he was lost all his hair, he had alopecia. And academically wasn't good at. And one of the story behind it is that he found something he was good at.
Yeah.
And his what he was good at was swimming. And he drove for that, and he excelled at that. And he tells an amazing story. But that was one of the key things when I met Duncan, he said that story. I'm like, I'm not academically, they could say, gifted in terms of, I'm not someone who went to university. School was I only went to school because of the football team I was at the time used to get the school reports. So, it's not my strength. But what I do find is that I'm good at working with children.
Yeah.
And I'm good at working with people. I enjoy sport. And that's where my, by luck, by chance, and again, that's what I want to do. I have a personal vision to children's coaching, children's physical activity is my passion. And it went from, how can I bring the first part of the vision for the business with my business partner, who's a friend of mine, was I want to bring the same opportunities to children in the town I live, that I had growing up. That was it. And it was then sport, physical activity, doing it well, communicating well, being open, being honest, being transparent, building relationships. And then that grew into me getting bigger opportunities. As you employ more people, you get more challenges. And this is a daily challenge every day. Sometimes people work for money. I have a saying that, work to learn, not work to earn.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in that. That's something that I do. I've been part of is, I've never really been one to chase for money. Apart from when Cleggy signed me at Coles, but that was another thing. But I suppose what I'm trying to get at is what is your vision? You might be in a job at the minute. This is going to, again, out to people. You might be in a job that you don't necessarily enjoy, but you can do something about it. You can make your job more enjoyable. You can make yourself more productive in your job.
Yeah. And I think
you can start.
Byproduct as well is byproducts is when you're saying you can make your job more enjoyable. That's when you're going to enjoy it more. You can be more productive in your job, and if you're good at something, you're going to enjoy it. And it goes back to that competence and confidence cycle that I spoke about recently, in terms of the more competent you become at something, so the better you become at something, your confidence increases. When your confidence increases, you're going to want to do it more, so you become more competent. And again, that cycle is continuously going round. And just an interesting point I picked up there when you were speaking about your sort of purpose and your why for sort of setting up your business. Is one of the messages that we sort of try and put out on Mindset Matters is sort of developing a why, developing an understanding, and sort of having a purpose. And if that why and that purpose is strong enough, then all those other little byproducts, those sort of factors that can affect it, they don't really become important if that why and that purpose is strong enough. It's brilliant to sort of hear how it's all started and how did it sort of scale up, because obviously the children's provision and physical activity in schools and stuff, it's always sort of changing, it's always developing. How have you then had to innovate and create new programs, or what is it that you've done to sort of stay relevant and stay focused on that?
Yeah, I think again that comes is one thing, you're never the finished article. And one of the sometimes hard thing to grasp is to accept where you're not good at something, and to listen to people and to bring in people better than yourself. And sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow for some people. But, within business, I'm not great with numbers. I'm not a businessman as such. I hate spreadsheets. But I have people being able to do that. And I think the way you grow is by looking at what are the strengths and development areas of people around you. All people have different behaviours. If you've never done there's loads of free things on the website to do to look at your emotional intelligence and what your behaviours are.
Yeah, I'm doing a piece at the moment around brain behaviours and around sort of channeling and managing your brain behaviours in terms of, like you've just saying there, your emotional intelligence, becoming self-aware. And I think it's very important as an individual to be self-aware about yourself and your own strengths and weaknesses. But then that leads me on to sort of leadership then, and for yourself, and sort of managing all these different things that you do in your companies and whatnot. How does then self-awareness become into leadership? Like, how do you filter that into Because obviously you're then self-aware of your own strengths and your own weaknesses, but how do you filter that down then onto your employees and things like that?
Yeah, I think leadership, and again, this is again about yourself, your beliefs. I use another model that I learned from a friend of mine, Jackie Christie and Peter Rushton. It's about the balcony and the dance floor, and there's a fine measure between the two. And what that means is if you're on the dance floor, you can't see what's going on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
But if you're on the balcony, you can see everything. And it's about having a fine line between both. As a leader, you will, I'm not scared of getting my hands dirty. I have that vision. I work hard. Again, going back to, if you've not seen the first dance, the last dance, should have said first dance, but the last dance. I've just started watching that last night, and there's a moment where Michael Jordan, gets his hands dirty, but at the same time, as his career goes in different ways, he starts to pull back and understand that wider picture. Yeah. It's all about him at the first instance. And I think that's important. You've got to be that driver. But then as we scale and grow, you've got to understand the people around you. A bit like going back to Alex Ferguson, how he managed Ronaldo. You've got to understand those people. And how do you get the best out of people? It's not about telling them to do something. It's about helping them and guiding them to do it the best they can.
There's a saying around leadership, isn't there, around you've got to be close enough to motivate them, but further enough away to inspire them. So in terms of if you was looking up to somebody, they need to be further enough away to inspire you to want to go and be like that person, but also relatable in terms of the fact that you need to be close to them to be able to motivate them. So it's sort of that fine line that you just discussed around being close to them to sort of motivate and push them to develop themselves, but also inspire them to sort of want to be where you are in terms of, or you want to do something for you, because you need to sort of be like a likable character in terms of nobody wants to work for somebody they don't get on with. Do you know what I mean? So it's how do you sort of then that fine line? What mechanisms have you put in place to sort of manage that with your staff?
Yeah, the mechanisms are getting daily structures, giving them the motivation that we've done. I think it's important to have fun and enjoy things. But I think like you structure, I think like the things that you've been involved in, from a football perspective, the way that we address or I go about it, I think I was a manager, and again, this is another example. I was a manager at Salford City before, and it was short-lived. Yeah. And the reason it was short-lived is because I couldn't do it. Yeah. Now, I'm bold enough and proud enough, and I can accept that management in football is not for me. But we work with Cleggy, and he's unbelievable at that. Yeah. But then, and I think it's that acceptability, these strengths that I have and he has, and we have other people. And so it's identifying everybody's strengths and being able to work as a team. But I think it's about, first and foremost, you set the standards, and then ultimately you've just got to be able to keep your finger on the pulse. If you're always on the dance floor, if you're the one that's doing all the work, then there is no scalability in it. There is no, because you just cannot scale. You cannot, as soon as you step out of that, then the business implodes or your organisation implodes. You've got to be able to have structures that enable you to step away. And I think, it's about listening, it's about speaking, it's about being open, but at the same time being able to accept, certain aspects that you can't do. So I went off on one there, so I might have lost the answer to that question.
You was discussing around the mechanisms around managing that fine line in terms of being a leader and sort of motivating your team to sort of get the daily tasks done, which you said about some of the principles you put in place. And I read something the other day around it resonated with me in terms of it's something I've not heard before, and it was like your mindset, your heart set, and your health set, and it's finding those things that sort of elevate all those different components of your life. And I mean, at Mindset Matters, all the sort of platform and some of the messages that we're putting out is all around sort of like physical activity and how it can have a sort of positive effect on your sort of mental well-being and your self-esteem and all those different things that physical activity promotes. But one of the messages that sort of want to get out there is being kind to others, to yourself, in terms of doing stuff that you like, you enjoy. But exercising physically and mentally, I mean, I like to do different things every day, and it's around sort of at least one thing that physically challenges myself, whether that's just going to the gym and sort of doing a physical workout, and one thing that sort of challenges me mentally around sort of like reading a book. I tend to do that before I go to bed of an evening. I've got this book called the Daily Stoic, which is around sort of like just a paragraph every day. And that's just something I get up first thing in the morning and just read one page. It's just one paragraph, and it's just a sort of little intention, really. But no, I mean, how important would you say that is for you then in terms of challenging yourself?
Yeah, mate, it's massive. I use a similar principle. I just call it head, heart, hands as a principle. You know, what's going on in here? What's this feel like?
Yeah.
And what does this? You know, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, I often say to people, he's like, if you get up, if you do some exercise, whether that's going for a walk, go in the gym, you have a shower, you have some good healthy food.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll ever find anybody that doesn't feel great after they've done those three simple things.
Yeah.
Now, how good does it feel like? And I use this with coaches in my you know, the best feeling, undoubtedly the best feeling as a coach, as a sports coach, is when somebody tells you how good you've been at your job.
Yeah.
So that could be a parent saying, thanks for little Bill, he's done a great, he really loved working with you today. That's that emotional feeling that is great. I often call that I got this from another friend of mine, called the emotional bank account.
Yeah.
And it's about every day I try and fill my emotional bank account. So we could use this as an example. You know, I want to work with you on Mindset Matters, and I want to work with other people, but I'm putting something into somebody else's vision, somebody else's message, and the likelihood is you're going to get something back in return at some point. You don't do stuff for a return, but you're constantly building up your emotional bank account. You know, but a friend of mine's at a funeral today. You know, it's took me 2 seconds to send him a message to say, I hope it's well. And that, I know then I've made somebody feel when they've read that, oh, that matters. So it's filling your day with stuff like that. It's things that can motivate you in here. And the head element of the head, heart, hands principle for me is 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And people then say, well, I've not got time. And I'm like, hang on a minute. You've just given us a great example. Read a paragraph.
Yeah.
You know, I'm quite visual. I like the TED Talks. I'm massive on Simon Sinek and his model. I get loads from that.
Yeah.
But yesterday I had to do live presentations because there was an update to PowerPoint. But 30 minutes a day, and I call it the 30-10-5. So it's 30 minutes, 10 minutes to reflect, 5 minutes to action it. And what the 5 minutes then is, you can tie the emotional factor into that, because that 5 minutes is you're going to influence. You might share it with somebody else.
Yeah.
I've seen this today. I think it's right with your street. Or I've read this and it made me think of you. The little things like that is, again, just simple strategies that help. But the fine balance between the three is, you know, looking after this. You've only got one of these. You know, you've only got one shell. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's
do the most you can with it.
Well, I think that's a concept with your mind as well. I mean, if you're mentally not right, you've got to live with that for the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? It's not something that you can sort of throw away in the bin. It's sort of working on it daily, and it's something that sort of can be developed. It's a muscle at the end of the day, and the more you exercise it, the more you sort of feed it with content. And a phrase that we use is brain food. What are you feeding your brain? What content are you consuming? If you're constantly having a sort of negative input, then you're going to have a negative output at the end of the day. If you're having a positive input, you're going to have a positive output. And I think that's the way the machine works in terms of your head. And it's about creating that sort of mental sort of safe space for yourself to. I mean, you spend a lot of time there. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people who are sort of unstable around the mindset and things like that, they'll generally tend to not like to spend a lot of time alone, whereas I love it. I'd love to be in a room by myself and just listen, or sat in the garden and just doing different sort of things that way. But it's interesting you say about the sort of scaling up and how one thing's led to another, because I think the thing with Mindset Matters for me, it was sort of created as a little bit of a hobby in terms of helping me consolidate my learnings and books and things like that. And instead of just posting them all to my own platform, sort of having a space where people can go to consume that content. And a lot of people have recently been having a little bit more time to post the content and some videos and some other sort of meaningful stuff. the saying is a sort of really important part of the day is seeing those posts of a morning and seeing those posts of an evening and sort of trying to structure them to the same time. And they're getting into that routine, whether it's during the lockdown of looking at those posts and how it's setting them up for their day. I mean, I'd love to sort of in the future do this a bit more sort of full on and working with some business owners on mindset and productivity and how they can get the best out of themselves and their teams and motivating others. So I think for me, it's just a case of where can I push it from there? How can we work with other people? And it's really interesting what you're saying about how one thing fell to another and sort of you pushed on from there. So if you've got advice for anybody then looking to sort of start a business around whether it's your field, a different field, whatever it is, how would you sort of say mindset matters or mindset and quotes and sort of your content that you're sort of consuming factors into that?
Don't think about money would be my first one. If you want to get rich overnight scheme, go and sell Herbalife, but they don't work. I think if you read and you look at most businesses and there's any time you can do it anytime. There's no age capacity. I think that's what Did I fall? I might have fell into business by fluke. There was an offer that came up, and I've had many opportunities come my way. Some I do regret because I think I could have done something well. But other things you think if there's something I go off a lot of my gut and my feeling. And if I think that something's pursuable, then give it a go. But start small. Don't like think you're like going in bed. I think you take what we're doing here and with Mindset Matters is, this is a hobby. This is something that you thoroughly enjoy. And what's happened, you've put stuff out there and it certainly interested me. I'm sure it'll interest others. And who knows? Who knows where it goes? I'm no mindset guru. But I'm just kind of sharing, some principles that have been successful for me. The businesses are doing really well. They employ a lot of people. Again, but that I don't really think about the money. The money does come, of course, if you're successful in business.
Yeah.
But I'm no millionaire. I'm not sat here in a big mansion. I've still got a lot of work to do, and I'm not really motivated by the money. As long as I can put, my children can have a fantastic life, and and I'm not there's nothing I'm really wanting. These things, and dreams that I've still got that I'd love to pursue. Who wouldn't want to be a millionaire at some point? But I get up every day and I love the impact that I do. And I think that's where you've just got to, be realistic. If there is something that you want to do, and reach out. I always raise flares all the time. If I've got an idea, you'll be surprised who who you can speak to. And what you do find is that most people will speak to you. If you've got an idea, you want to pursue something, then go and speak to other people about it. I've got. I had a conversation last week with one of my biggest competitors, who was coming to me for help.
And that went down well.
And it was like, that's what I'm not really bothered. The business model that I have has got loads of scalability. And if you're the best, you will succeed. That's the kind of thing. If we're consistent with what we're doing, that's what's made us successful, is to be consistent with what we've done. And but they're the best things. Is find something that you're interested in, speak to people, work with people, and never be too proud. Find who can help you along that way. If you want marketing, go and find someone who knows about marketing. If it's finance, go and find someone who knows about finance. Just don't be too proud to ever speak and communicate as best you can.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. And like I say, sharing all that different advice of what works for you, and I've shared a little bit about what works for me. And I think, like you say, it's a really important message there about sort of loving what you do and enjoying what you do. I think that's massive to whatever it is that you sort of want to go in, whatever field it is that you do. And I just think, I just want to sort of thank you for your time and sort of some of the mindset principles and the sort of input you've had into your strategies that work for you, for your business, for your life. And just thank you for your time, really. So I hope to think that a lot of people get some content from this. They can withdraw little bits of principles and little bits of things that have worked for you, for myself. And we'll sort of look to do this a little bit more. So thank you very much for your time.
No, thanks, mate. It's been really enjoyable. You know, always discussions like this just help you be motivated. Looking forward to Friday evening and in lockdown. But like you said, if this helps just one person, then we've done our job, mate. So great work. Thanks for inviting me, and yeah, all good.
Perfect. Cheers, mate. Stop this
Take
recording.
care, pal.